But anyways, getting back to H.P. Blavatsky, she said that these were forces of nature, and they will operate as either servile agents of general law, or they may be employed by disembodied spirits, pure or impure, and by living adepts of magic and sorcery to produce desired phenomenal results. She also goes on to say, under the general designation of fairies and fays, these spirits of the elements appear in the myth, fable, tradition, and poetry of all nations, ancient and modern. Their names are Legion, Paris, Devs, Jinns, Sylvans, Satyrs, Fauns, Elves, Dwarfs, Trolls, Kobolds, Brownies, Stromkarls, Undines, Nixies, Salamanders, Goblins, Banshees, Kelpies, Prixies, Moss People, Good Neighbors. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. Good Neighbors, Wild Women, met some of those, Men of Peace, White Ladies, and many more. They have been seen, feared, blessed, banned, and invoked in every quarter of the globe and in every age. These elementals are principal agents of disembodied but never visible spirits at seances, and are the producers of all the phenomena except the subjective. Now that was a pretty wide, pretty extensive list, huh? We've all heard at least 5 of those terms employed. In the Jewish Kabbalah, the nature spirits were known under the general name Shadim and divided into 4 classes. The Persians called them devs. The Greeks indistinctly designated them as demons, and Egyptians knew them as afrits, A-F-R-I-T-E-S. The ancient Mexicans, says Kaiser, believed in numerous spirit abodes, into one of which the shades of innocent children were placed until final disposal. Into another, situated in the sun, ascended the valiant souls of heroes, while the hideous specters of incorrigible sinners were sentenced to wander and despair in subterranean caves, held in the bonds of the earth atmosphere, unwilling and unable to liberate themselves. They passed their time in communicating with mortals and frightening those who could see them. Some of the African tribes know them as Yowahus. I'm going to read one more line here. She says, of the ideas of Proclus on the subject, it is said in the Isis Unveiled, he held that the 4 elements are filled with demons, maintaining with Aristotle that the universe is full and that there is no void in nature. The demons of earth, air, fire, and water are of an elastic, ethereal, semi-corporal essence. It is the classes which officiate as intermediate agents between the gods and men. Although lower in intelligence than the 6th order of the higher demons, these beings preside directly over the elements and organic life. They direct the growth, the inflorescence, the properties, and various changes of plants. They are personified ideas or virtues shed from the heavenly ool into the inorganic matter, and as the vegetable kingdom is in one remove higher than the mineral, these emanations from the celestial gods take form in the plant and become its soul. This is where we get a lot of concepts from alchemy, and also, what's the ancient word for pharmacopoeia, right? Medicines and herbs, what we currently have as pills and chemicals. Probably the same thing going on, right? All right, so that's what H.P. Blavatsky has to say about those types of spirits. You see anything interesting there about this subject? Zero says Ifrit, like the one in Final Fantasy. My exact thoughts. First time I've ever heard that word was with, I'm pretty sure it was Final Fantasy 7 with Ifrit. Maybe Final Fantasy 8. But anyways, every time I see Ifrit, I think about that. MC Maestro says Karens are elementals. Who'd have thunk it, right? Who'd heard of such a thing? Whoever heard of such a thing? Ralph says, wow, Water Undine in the game Undertale is what that game character's archetype is, possibly. My son only got into Undertale a little bit, so I don't know too much about it. Wayne M, peace. Noonies Universe, thank you. Ralph says, Good Neighbors is the name of a food bank here. Also makes me, not only State Farm, but also makes me think of the Keebler Elks. Some of these companies that use these icons and these sigils, for sure, there's got to be some practitioners in those levels, for sure. I want to see the manager. Okay, so let's through a little bit more here. I like that she said that the Greeks indiscriminately labeled these things as demons. So I think one of the points that can be made here is that yes, what we call and know of as demons rest in a separate category than elementals. To some people who lack discernment and who lack the refinement of perception, pretty much anything that isn't Jesus is going to be considered a demon, right? So you have a big group of people that are going to call everything a demonic spirit, and unfortunately a lot of these people do write books and spread misinformation. So that's probably why you're going to see a lot of this stuff mixed together. That's on one extreme, everything's a demon mentality. On the other extreme is what Starlion said earlier. Essentially, not all, but a vast majority of the spirits that human beings interact with are of the same caliber. It's just the differences are it takes a refined awareness to be able to perceive them. The same way that most of us have had a pack of crayons with like 10 colors, and some of us have had the pack with 64 colors. You remember that? Where it had, my favorite color was the neon watermelon. Yeah, I really loved that. But there's so many different colors in that 64 pack. Most people are content with just the basic 10 colors, right? Your 7 primaries plus black, white, and gray and brown. And then there are others who have a more refined perception. So they're going to use periwinkle. They're going to use teal. They're going to use indigo instead of violet, instead of purple, right? There's going to be these specific gradations that matter to people who have a certain refinement of taste. Likewise, when it comes to these spirits, generally speaking, you're going to be working with an elemental, generally speaking. But there are refinements and levels. That's why we have a thing called elemental kings. And of course, that would stand to that there are queens and princes and princesses, etc. MC Maestro says, in the top 500 companies in the US, I don't think there's a choice to not have some occult framework. Absolutely. Absolutely.